to another edition of DNVR Rams Live. I'm Justin Michael. I'm joined by my main man, D-Line, which is what he goes by, Eric, if you prefer to call people by their human names. But man, it was an ugly one in Utah State. It started about as well as you could hope for. You go up 17-0 in the first quarter. Then you give up 37 unanswered points. Just really deflating showing, really disappointing performance on both sides of the football. What's your reaction, man? You were really excited for this team. You're a CSU alum.
Yes.
You're not like me, who's in it year to year necessarily, but you were starting to really buy into this program and, you know, potentially being a team that could make some noise in the Mountain West. I do want to iterate. It is one game. You're 0-1 in league play, but it feels like a game that kind of basically is telling us they aren't who we thought they were. You know, they have a ton of talent on paper. They have enough talent to be in that mix. They certainly should not be getting their butts kicked the way they did tonight. But where are you at with this one?
Where am I at with this one? Well, wow, that was deflating. Holy cow, man. Like, for a variety of reasons. I mean, obviously, the team starts off, we're up 17-0 in the first quarter. Like, this game, the CSU Rams were up 17-0 in the first quarter of this game.
It was a long time ago, my friend.
It was, and, you know, it was like, wow, like, things have changed. Like, it's time to buy in. Like, it is not the same CSU Rams that I, like, get riled up about and then just, like, get completely, you know, disappointed by, and then at a certain point just lose all of my steam and then just look forward to nuggets and moving beyond. Like, I really, like, more than, I just want to believe in the CSU Rams. I want to have a college football team that I follow passionately. I, like, want this to be a thing that is, like, part of my life. And every time that I get to this place, like, I mean, this is the most deflating that it's been for me in a really long time. This performance was so bad in so many ways after being so promising, not only just in that first quarter, but in the lead up, the weeks leading up, the year leading up, the performance they just put out there after that first quarter was just, I mean, I don't know that I have the words to describe how utterly pathetic it was.
It was ugly. It was disastrous. It was arguably the worst loss of the Jay Norvell tenure. I mean, there were some pretty ugly games last year. You could say Sac State getting your teeth kicked in by an FCS squad. Middle Tennessee was rough as well. But it's the expectation. It's the letdown, which makes this one feel that much worse. I mean, I had talked a lot about in the weeks leading up to this one that CSU over the last couple weeks had done a lot of things to kind of indicate that these aren't the same old Rams, that, you know, this isn't the team we've seen over the last 5 years. And that's what was really deflating about this one, is it felt like the Mike Bobo era. It felt like the Steve Addazio era. It felt like a team where they were maybe feeling themselves a little bit too much, especially after going up. I mean, it's the second straight week that you go up 17-0 and then, you know, by halftime it's a ball game. It's really frustrating that this team continues to be so inconsistent, that they're unable to string together a complete performance. We're 5 games in. They've yet to play a complete game so far. And I mean, this talent, it's there. Like, you see Torrey Horton and Mo Camara, and obviously really hope those guys are okay. I'm covering this game remote, obviously, so I'm not there in the post-game presser. We'll have to see what happens. Guessing we're not really going to have any answers till early in the week anyways, but I mean, put all the good vibes you can in the universe, you know, pray to whatever you believe in that those guys are okay, because that would just be disastrous if CSU is going to have to be without them, especially when you've got Boise State coming into town next weekend. Just really disappointing. It was an opportunity to start the league slate with a victory for the first time since in a couple years. You know, it was a opportunity to get some momentum rolling into a game against Boise State, which has felt more winnable. You know, over the last couple of weeks, they aren't exactly a road beater, but after this one, it's tough to, you know, puff your chest out and feel really confident about making history. I mean, it was just ugly. It was ugly on both sides of the ball. ton of pressure in that first quarter. I really liked what CSU did off the bat. They're I think 3 straight points at one point. They get uncontested to the quarterback on third down, just drilling them. And then the defense just kind of seemed to get gassed. And I think a part of that was probably with the offense not being on the field. I mean, you get the punt return for a touchdown. That's kind of a big momentum play, just a lot of time on the field, and you understand that. But I mean, to get torched by Cooper Lega, apparently is how you pronounce it. I've been saying Legos for 2 years, and so has every other broadcast I've ever heard. But I guess it's Cooper Lega. But I got to eat some crow because I said coming in, he's not a guy that really intimidates you as a passer, and he completely outplayed BFN tonight. He made some really impressive throws against coverage. I also thought there were some instances where DBs just got burned, and that just continues to be an issue for the secondary, for this defense as a whole, which sucks. But I mean, I got to eat that one. I said, make him prove that he can make those type of throws. Well, he did that in my face because he did that all night long.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he played a really good game, man. He put great. He put a couple of those passes like right on the goddamn money, and it was wild because like we have been accustomed to seeing BFN make those type of throws in all of the weeks leading up to this. I mean, it was crazy, man. Like there were so many things where CSU just completely turned it back into a pumpkin. Like Braden Fowler-Nicolosi was so off this entire game. Like guys wide open, missing him by 5 yards behind, like throwing way behind him, throwing into double coverage, triple coverage, like throws that you're like, what are you even looking at? Like, what do you is hoping is going to happen here? Like getting not nearly enough air under the ball, just out throwing guys. And I mean, I'm just like bewildered by it because, as you said at the top of the show, this is one game, right? Obviously, we're talking about a freshman quarterback. We're talking about guys that need, and we're talking about a difficult game.
I mean, it's his 5th career start. Most of them have been on the road. He's been great up to this point. But yeah, I mean, it was bad. The decision-making was erratic at times. Bad. Which is not something that's really been an issue this year. There were times last year when he played where that was a complaint I had, really not setting his feet in times where he had time to. But I mean, it's one game. I understand why people were frustrated. I saw a lot of comments online, maybe you pull him. In my opinion, given the way that game was going, I think you just got to keep him in there. I don't really see what the benefit of throwing Clay Millen in there is at this point. You've pretty much accepted he's not your guy. I mean, maybe you want to put Jackson Brousseau in there, the other freshman quarterback, get him some reps. He is a Utah kid, so I mean, it would have been like a nice homecoming moment for him. But right, I mean, ultimately, this is a young quarterback, and we have to remember that he has less than 6 career starts. He needs those reps. So it was a rough night. He was off. You hope that he's able to recover from it. I mean, 4 turnovers, got stripped from behind, and 3 picks. One of them at the end, he's just trying to throw it away. One of them's 3rd and long, so it basically acts as a punt. And the other one, frankly, it's a touchdown 9 times out of 10. I was celebrating, thinking that Torrey Horton pulled it in. That's a 50-50 ball in a sense, but typically that's a 70-30 ball in Torrey's favor. I don't have an issue with that one. I can live with that because you understand the decision-making. That's a ball that Torrey should have come down with. It was a little bit underthrown, and that gave Ike Larson an opportunity to make just a phenomenal play on the ball. He had a great game tonight, one of the best DBs in the league. But man, it was humble pie. I think that was the best way to put it.
Oh, like what is your? I mean, just starting at like, what do you ascribe this to? Like, what if you could point to one thing? Like, what would it be in this game?
I mean, it feels like mentality. I mean, a couple times now you've gone up double digits. CU, Utah Tech, Utah State, and you're not able to maintain it. And obviously it was encouraging that they still pulled out the victories these last 2 weeks. I talked about winning ugly, how that's not a thing that CSU has been able to do. And that was kind of the silver lining, despite the fact that, it wasn't perfect.
They still got losing ugly down, though. No problem there.
I mean, it just comes down to consistency. And I said it time and time again, like at some point, if you cannot play a 4-quarter game, it's going to bite you, especially in league play where the competition is relatively even. But I mean, this was this was about as brutal as it gets. You go up 17 points and you end up losing by the largest margin of victory in this series since Utah State joined the Mountain West. I mean, no game had been decided by more than 2 possessions. You fall by 20 in this one. It's just, it sucks. It was a really deflating performance. It was bad. It was ugly. It was all the words you want to describe it, however frustrated that everybody in the comments feel. I'm right there with you. I mean, you give up 639 yards, and this is a Utah State offense.
God.
They do this. I mean, they're one of the top offenses in the conference. They've got great wide receivers. They're a really erratic team. They did the same thing. They went down, I think, 20-0 at UConn last week, came back and won that game. It's just what they've been doing for the last 3 years under Blake Anderson. But that doesn't make you feel any better, because if you go up 17-0 on the road, you've got to win, point blank, period.
Yeah.
And they flopped. They flopped.
Dude, I was feeling incredible after the first quarter. I was like, look at that. Look at us.
Spicy tweets.
I mean, I wasn't even in like the spicy tweet mindset. I was just feeling celebratory. I was feeling like, okay, like, listen, like, I'm even above having to go low. I can just like go high and just like live life correctly, live on the right side of things. And then
that's what we were going for. I mean,
I know.
You got 4 sacks. Why? Quarter. Mo's just absolutely feasting out there.
Feasting. This is. You know what? This is kind of what I have come to, is that this team is not nearly as deep as maybe I thought it was.
I mean, you're in year 2 of a total rebuild, which is
total rebuild.
We all have
understood
in perspective, but I mean, it's also just one of those situations where, yes, you are in year 2 of a rebuild, but what's frustrating about this is your ones aren't getting it done. It's, the guys in the secondary getting torched. Aiden Hector's had a really rough couple of weeks, got burned a couple of times, including on a touchdown. I mean, and I don't want to just single him out. It was a rough night for the secondary altogether. The safety struggled, the corners struggled. It was bad. It's just bad. I mean, I really don't know how else to put it.
Yeah. And Walk EBB, those are manatees. Those are manatees behind me with a 40 ounce. But they do have the right idea. Listen, we lost Torrey Horton. I think we lost Mo Camara.
Neither of them returned after they got.
Those guys are supreme talent. Like, those are Sunday talents. Those guys, both of those guys are incredible, and you realize like how much having 1 to 2 impact players can really, truly affect how a team is able to go out there. What it is they're able to do. Losing both of those guys was catastrophic for CSU.
They might be the most individually dominant.
They are.
On offense and defense, respectively, in the entire conference.
No question.
That's not like a CSU homer take. That's when you look at the statistical production, when you look at what they do from a week to week, it makes sense why CSU is so dependent on them. But it was just one of those nights you needed some of the other guys to step up. I mean, you can't get Dallin Holker the football till 1:20 left in the third quarter. I don't know what's going on there. The camera angles weren't great, so
no
product of coverage. Maybe it's play calling, which frankly felt pretty vanilla at times. I mean, after
not
that
only vanilla,
game,
only vanilla at times. It was like, what do you do? Like, every drive after we took the lead, every drive started the exact same way. Did you notice this? Every drive started off with a super ineffective run up the gut, 1 to 2 yards. Then they would get a false start penalty just to spice things up, just to keep it interesting. So we would be at like first and 14 or something, or second and 14. And then there would be a throw over the middle that would be behind the wide receiver, and then we would just punt the ball away and then just step and repeat over and over. It was so bizarre. But
all night. I mean, I don't think the play calling did it any favors. I mean, Jay Norvell said after the Washington State game that they were going to take the training wheels off, and we had kind of seen that. Now, I will say it's kind of a weird spot because BFN's trying to take shots down the field. You see in that third and fourth quarter, they finally just start taking what's there underneath, which is something they had a ton of success. I mean, CSU was averaging 230 yards after the catch coming into this game. It just feels like they went away from what was working.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, they have like this tonight did not look like an air raid offense. It's just like they were hell bent on making sure that their running game got going, which I understand. I mean, that's like a tool that you need to be able to have to go to.
Well, especially when you go up 17-0. But
yes, it felt like they were tinkering
in the first quarter.
Yeah, it felt like they were tinkering. They were like, "Oh, we're going to work on our games out here," like Devin Booker. But like then they just weren't able to find it. Like I don't know, man. They got gobsmacked. They got shell shocked. I was sure, like, going into halftime being tied, and what they should have been down if not for that kick being mercifully missed at the end of regulation. Like, I was like, okay, that's a gift. All right, 0-0. We're going to go in. We're going to get our heads right. We're going to get back on the right side of things intensity-wise. We're going to, like, be focused. And then it was just an absolute disaster. Like, the defense was so, like, the secondary has been, at times good, at times bad, but it was just, I mean, I'm struggling to remember a time when wide receivers were as wide open as they were down in the middle of the field tonight. And if not that, then they were just gashing us for 15-yard runs each and every time. It was just so deflating, man. And especially after the first half where that defensive front four was so devastating for CSU. They were getting pressure on the quarterback every time Mo Camara was coming around. What did he have, 3 sacks in the first half?
3 sacks in the game, 2 in the first half, and then 1 in the second half, which that's the play he got injured on, unfortunately. Again, no update there. Hope for the best. It's all you can with him and Torrey. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, you start basically as well as you could hope for, and then for 3 straight quarters, everything that could go wrong went wrong for this team.
So wrong. Even my man Holker finally gets a reception after being completely shut down, double and triple teamed the entire first half. The only time they even tried to get him the ball, like, BFN threw a very ill-advised pass into extreme double coverage, should have been picked off. They finally start to get it. They throw him that ball down the right hash. A beautiful catch, dots it, gets out of bounds. I was like, there he is. This is it. Like, now here we go.
Third long too. It was like third
and long. It was beautiful. Yeah. I was like, there it is. Okay, you found your connection. Like, go do that again, and then immediately go right back to him. Immediately fumbles the ball. It's like, all right,
he's been great this year. That would be the one thing you could point out is ball security. He's had a couple of fumbles now, so it's been an issue. He does have the elbow brace, which the commentators mentioned, but I mean, he was holding it in his other arms. I don't really know like what that has to do with it, other than I guess the 2 arms on it quite as well. But yeah, it was bad. If you're in the comment section, we'll get to some of your questions, comments, all that in the third segment as well. I do want to comment on this one though from Joey B. Air raid equals dud. We were sold a bad bowl of goods as CSU fans, alum, boosters, season ticket holders, gimmick. I disagree with you because basically every major offense in both the NFL and college football are running air raid concepts these days. It's just about execution. I mean, it's one of those where when you're not executing, everything's compounded. The short runs for no gain, the false starts, and the execution procedure errors. I mean, missed throws where the timing's just off. A couple of instances where if you get the ball and you place it a little better, a guy's able to turn upfield instead of getting tackled on the spot. I mean, it's little things, and it all comes down. And it really compounded this one. It was ugly. We're going to keep talking about it, but I do want to shout out our partners real quick.
Let's go.
It shouldn't be hard to buy tickets. It shouldn't be hard to be a CSU fan, but at times it can be. It is.
It's hard to be.
It's hard to be at the moment, but it's never hard to be a Game Time customer.
Let's
They're
go.
Always hooking it up with the best deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. So even an hour after it starts, you can get some last-minute deals. Flash deals. They've got sponsored deals on tickets for basketball, football, concerts, stand-up, anything you can think of. You can see your seat view before you buy it, so you can take the guessing game out, like, is this going to be obstructed or something? They got your back. Game Time is the best. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use the code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, spell that code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Almost read some of the instructions there, but that's okay. It's easy to buy tickets with Game Time. It's also easy to watch sports with Fubo TV. You can stream over 140 plus live channels of sports shows, movies, and news. Watch from any device. The best way to watch all of Colorado sports for the lowest price, including altitude, which is huge with the Nuggets and Avs coming up. We're still champs, baby.
Yes, we're still champs, baby. You can't hurt us.
You can't take that from me. I mean, CSU has hurt me plenty of times over the years, but the Nuggets, nothing but joy in my heart. No contract, no cable, no hassle. Just sign up, start streaming. You get 1,000 hours of cloud DVR, which is super clutch. For instance, I was able to record 4 games today that I'll watch, over the next couple of days. So I can stay up to date with all.
Dude, I love Fubo. Fubo's the best. I watched CSU get their teeth kicked in on Fubo. That's not the best use case, but I did it on the list. And the multi-view, it was so like you can get up to 4. I don't know, maybe even more. I had the Phillies game, the Buffs game, the Rams game, and I was just going oh, that's awesome.
That's another key, by the way. I know we're not a Buffs pod, but you do get the Pac-12 network, which is basically impossible to find. Usually you need to satellite and hook it up to your dog and let him run around the yard or something.
Yeah.
Watch all your favorite college football and NFL with Fubo. Go to www.fubotv.com/DNVR. Sign up, get 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. A couple of keys to the game we've got here. We've already discussed a lot of this, so I'm not going to get too repetitive, but I mean...
Let's do it. Let it all out, Justin. We got to let this out. Listen, this is the type of loss tonight that can eat a man's soul. This can infest, can ruin, it can rust.
CSU, this is nothing. I Boulder 04, Boise State 2017. They've had more deflating losses to Utah State in the last 5 years.
Brother, I don't know, man. You got to weigh expectation and excitement with performance. Tonight was, for me, perhaps felt differently. I just have not felt the confidence in CSU that I felt going into this game in such a very long time. And to see it crash down in the manner in which it crashed down, in repetitive, convincing fashion. It wasn't oh man, that's a fluke. It was oh my God, what are they doing? What is this? Were they up?
Their butts kicked on both sides of the football.
Is it Utah nightlife is undefeated? Did they all get bad pizza? What are they doing? The entire team forgets how to
Utah.
The entire team forgets how to play football? What in 2 quarters time? They were ahead 17-0 with 8 minutes left in the first.
But the thing was, they were up 17-0 and really had only executed on one offensive drive, and it was a short one after getting good field position. It was just, I don't know. I don't want to say it's fool's gold because the D-line was dominating. You make some big plays on special teams. I mean, that's why you have Horton back there. He's a game changer. But just brutal. I mean, you give up almost 400 yards of passing offense, over 600 yards of total offense, touchdown passes of 24, 76, 51, and 19 yards. Rushing touchdowns of 22, 19, and 14 yards. I mean, it wasn't like these were goal line scores. Every touchdown of 10-plus yards, almost all of them of 20 or more yards, the explosive plays. Just, it was about as deflating as it gets. I mean, you were starting to feel a lot of hope for the offense. You're starting to hope that the defense is able to turn it around because they had some struggles the last 2 weeks. But they did really lock it down in the second half last week. Were great on third down, only give up.
They were. And bro, I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I saw this team look impressive. I saw them come up in big situations with poise, with tenacity, the right play at the right time. All of the things that you need for a successful football season. And tonight I watched them all evaporate. I watched them make inexcusable mistakes at the biggest moments. That when they finally got a spark, Utah State was doing what they could to keep the Rams in the game. They were, they fumbled the ball.
They had 4 turnovers.
It wasn't just an open and shut case. There was still sort of a path to at least if not a moral loss, a moral victory, at least like.
I mean, you had a chance to cut it to one score.
They had a chance to cut it to one score, and then
it was. I mean, it wasn't like you were completely out of it, but it's still. I mean, it's just really, really deflating. I feel like the turning point is Jaden Royals' 24-yard screen to tie it at 17 with 1:22 left. All the air goes out of CSU's sideline at that point. I mean, it's a Utah State homecoming crowd. I mean, obviously I'm covering it remotely, but they came alive. I felt like CSU got shell-shocked at that point, and they just didn't really respond the way we'd seen them respond in the second half the last couple of weeks. Now, I will say, I mean, you hope it's not a major concern. I mean, you've got 7 weeks to get this all figured out, but just the fact that they struggle to be consistent, the fact that they have not been able to close out these games when they've gotten the double digits leads now 3 out of the last 4 weeks, it's frustrating, and you know, you got to see more. We need to see a ton out of this defense, which was highly propped up in the offseason by me, but by this coaching staff as well. I mean, they talked a big game about how this could be one of the best defenses they'd ever had, and it just has not lived up to those expectations. I mean, you see, they get after one of the best D lines in the conference. Mo is the most dominant individual player defensively in the league, but just not enough consistently. Way too many lapses in coverage. You hope they can shore some things up there, but at this point, it feels like you're seeing it on a week-to-week basis. So at this point, you kind of just got to try and mitigate the damage, make some changes. It's a tough spot, honestly, because they're getting torched over the top, but they're also struggling to come up and make tackles in the short game. It's a lot of screens, so it's like you could drop back in zone, but you're not at the moment, at least, being able to come up and make those plays. You could go man instead, but you're getting beat over the top. So I understand, you know, you're pissed off. It needs to be better, but like, what do? I don't know what you do there. I'm glad I'm not a defensive coordinator in that instance. I'll say that, but they got to figure it out. It's just been ugly. It's been really ugly. I have a lot of respect for Freddie Banks as a DC. I feel like over the last year and a half, he's shown that he's a guy that does adjust well on the fly. And he's a guy that does kind of bring the best out of players, put them in positions to maximize their skill sets. But we're going to have to see some different guys in different spots, some changes. I don't know. All I know is you can't keep doing this because it's just not working.
Yeah. So many missed tackles also. Like, even when guys
were now, it's just really a big issue.
It really, really is. It's unbelievable, in fact. But CSU should be in a position where they can, if they should be able to make up for a bad, or at least a soft defense with their offense. I mean, coming into this week, they've shown you that if all else fails, like, we can keep moving the ball down. Like, we can.
And that's why I'm not going to panic and throw out, oh my God, they're going to lose every game. Like, this doesn't completely change every expectation you have. I mean, I'd say realistically, they're not a championship team. Like, I hope they should be with the top end talent that they have. Obviously, you're still growing with this offense, which has a redshirt freshman quarterback. There's just going to be nights when he doesn't have it. And it was like that. I mean, it was a growing moment for a young quarterback who has a ton of arm talent, who's shown a ton of positive things this year, but they got to go back to the drawing board. They got to, you know, simplify, some things with the passing offense, not try and do too much at times. Maybe not try and shoehorn the run game when it's not working.
Jesus.
I mean, I understand the logic. I really do. You do
so do
have
I.
to establish it and you have to work on it, but it just felt like they took the foot off the gas a little too early. I understand that's Monday morning quarterbacking and all that, but I don't know, especially just given that you hadn't really established much with the passing offense at that point. I would have liked to have seen them get in the rhythm. If you complete that touchdown pass to Torrey Horton, the whole momentum of the game is probably completely different. You get a lot more life going. Who knows how things play out that way. It was just one of those nights after things went really well for you early on. Absolutely everything went wrong for you after it.
I'm like struggling to find words. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not Monday morning quarterbacking to talk about how they were shoehorning the running game. It was so extremely obvious in the moment. Like, what are we doing? I'm not seeing any of the same passing attack.
I just mean, like, we're obviously BFN didn't have his A game. He's struggling with accuracy. They're
But
just
yes, that's obvious.
Momentum. I get
yes,
why you're trying to run it, but it just
but it's not working. It's not working. Let's go back to some of those concepts that we've been using successfully over the past several weeks, where our passing game is our running game.
Get the crossers going, the screens, and they didn't do that underneath well. It was complete, unfortunately. You want to go through a couple of positives before we get to the
let's do it. Let's find. What do you got? Let's talk about them, please. I need this.
CSU player of the game, Mo Camara, 5 total tackles, 3 sacks. What is this?
What is happening?
Oh my god! That's a nightmare.
Oh man, that was a CSU.
WCW invades Monday Night Raw or something. What is happening?
It is hardcore struggling. Sorry, guys.
All good. Much love if you kill it on the production side. Just had to crack the joke. Stone Cold, by God, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
So brutal. So brutal.
Hope he's okay. He's the most dominant player defensively in the league. One of the most dominant players I've ever seen, on pace to shatter the single season record for sacks, the Mountain West record for sacks in a season, all that fun stuff. You just hope to God that Mo is okay. But man, he was a man on a mission, and just week after week, he just goes out there and dominates with every snap. I mean, it really is impressive how relentless his motor is. So much so that he actually gets hurt at times because he's just out there so much, just killing it.
Oh, he fully gave himself a concussion by sacking the quarterback.
So hopefully he's all right.
Yeah. I mean, he hit that. The craziest thing is that his injury came as a result of him hitting another player so hard that he himself actually ended up motionless on the field, which was
really scary.
Really, really scary. Absolutely terrible moment. But very kind of summarizes the game in one moment there.
Pretty much, man. It was just, when it rains, it pours, and we're soaking wet tonight. Helmet stickers, just some individuals worth recognizing. Not going to spend a ton of time on this, obviously, but Torrey Horton, epic punt return.
Incredible! I love Torrey Horton, man. I can't believe he truly his exit from the game.
He's the best wide receiver I've ever covered in person at CSU, and there have been some damn good receivers that have come through.
He is so clearly different. You just watch him, the way that he moves, his speed, his movement. As soon as he gets going, the momentum that he runs with, it's he's just a different player.
He only needs a little bit of space, and he's gone. Because it bursts. He's just absolutely incredible. Mo Camara, obviously, helmet stickers, obviously the player game. Kobe Johnson and Van Shield both get a rushing touchdown in this one.
Yay.
Van Shield, walk-on, great guy, had some big moments in pass pro too, which is where he shines. Kobe Johnson gets his first rushing touchdown of the season.
Good job.
Justin Sanchez leads the team, 13 total tackles. Chase Wilson, forced fumble, big time sack, second in tackles. Dom Jones and true freshman TJ Crandall both get their first interceptions of the season respectively. Helmet stickers for all the lads. Yay!
We did it. Helmet sticker time.
Look, guys, you know how I operate. I want to point out the good when I can, but
listen, Justin, it's important in these times to remember that not all is lost, that the night is not as dark and long as it may seem at this exact moment. There's not all bad when it comes to CSU. We've seen many, many positive moments this entire season leading up to this week, and for a quarter and a half. It was very beautiful. Everything was looking extremely sunny. I appreciate your optimism. I appreciate you not allowing all of us to drive off the side of the road. I'm ready to drive off the side of the road. It's a good thing you're balancing me out.
They have too much talent to completely give up altogether. What you saw the last couple of weeks still happened. But It's one of those where you have to take both results with a grain of salt. And like most things, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Are they the championship team that we hope that they would be? It does not appear not. Are they the team that, when you're at the lowest of your low and, fire everybody, this whole team sucks? No, they're not that either. It's somewhere in the middle, and we'll get to this at the end, but I can really just drive it home now since it's online. But frankly, the goal is to make a bowl game. You have 7 games left, and you have to go 4-3. Missing the postseason would be unacceptable with the amount of talent that they have on this team. You have a quarterback. I know it wasn't his night, but it's not the end of the world. Was it ugly? Was it brutal? Was it every word, every descriptive you could think of, every curse word? Yes.
It was that. Yep.
But it's one game in a 12-game season. And if I've ever been reminded anything about college football is that this is the dumbest sport on the planet, and that from week to week teams, the discrepancy you can play is just crazy from week to week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I pointed this out earlier. I think that I actually cracked the code. The state of Colorado, between the Broncos, the Buffs, and the Rams, are allotted 1 W per week.
Well, we got 2 last weekend. So then we.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, because the Broncos and Rams both won.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the Broncos won. Broncos
they still
won.
Lost in the end. No, I'm just kidding. We don't need to get into that.
We do kind of need to get into that, but you're right. I guess. Wow, I forgot all about that. Wow. So we actually overexerted. You depleted some of our resources last week by errantly assigning the Broncos.
Blame the Broncos for CSU losing this game.
Yes. Well, so I'm saying
got the Rams down.
Yeah, and the Broncos are in big trouble tomorrow. That's all I know about that. Is that I can't imagine 2 W's handed out in 2 consecutive weeks. Preposterous. I don't see it happening. So what happened to football in this state? Can we just talk about that? What happened to football in the state of Colorado? This beautiful state that I love more than anything.
I think we sacrificed it for our Lord and Savior Nikola Jokic.
I think it was for Peyton Manning, actually.
LA and this is where we're at. Trapped for all of eternity.
We are. The Super Bowl was good? Was it that good? Was it this good? Was it worth this? We all have to look deep inside. I guess we can't go back, but it's a rough time.
It's been so long, I barely even remember the joy of the Super Bowl, to be honest. But what I do know is that after this game, I'm gonna have an ice cold Breckenridge brew, and it's just gonna lift my spirits. There's nothing better than having an ice cold Breck brew. They've been doing it for 33 years. It all comes down to their love and passion for making good beer. There's a fly in here. Sorry about that. Made with 100% renewable energy. Shout out to Breck Brew. Try the Avalanche Amber Ale or the Broncos Country Pale Ale, which has the coolest design I've ever seen. And if you have enough of them, you can forget that the Broncos are your favorite team. But of course, drink responsibly. Check out the Breck Brew locator at breckbrew.com. Find a brew near you. I also want to shout out our friends at FOCO. They are a leading manufacturer in all kinds of cool official merchandise. They have hooked us up with all kinds of novelty items, sweet gear for the set. FOCO has our back for Colorado sports. They're going to have yours too. If you go to their website, you can get 10% off all non-presale items when you use the code DNVR, or just go to the link in our podcast description. I love FOCO. You love FOCO. We all love FOCO. Get your questions, get your comments in. It's that portion of the segment here. And then
FOCO,
we'll
just to be clear, not short for Fort Collins. FOCO, independent of Fort Collins. FOCO, though, I'm a huge fan of bobbleheads. FOCO has the best bobbleheads. They always have new cool ones, exclusive ones. If you're a member, Yeah, if you're in the the bobblehead game, FOCO is the place to go. They're the only ones that are really committed to the idea of putting out new interesting bobbleheads all the time. So shout out FOCO and Fort Collins also.
Well put. If you got any questions or comments, get those in. Now is the time. If not, we'll just kind of wrap it up with some final thoughts here. The main thing to me is obviously it's one game. I'm so tired of these late games. I miss half of it putting kids to bed. Why won't the Mountain West just let me catch a late afternoon buzz, fall asleep with the half mowed lawn? Yeah, man, I can't say you're wrong. That sounds nice. The late night starts, especially as a content creator. Not what I'm pushing for. The 1 p.m. start this year. It's going to be glorious. That said, one thing I do want to remind everyone, CSU had a ton of 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. starts during the mid-2000s on games that were untelevised and completely inaccessible to anybody that were not there outside of the radio broadcast. Is it the greatest broadcast we've ever seen on the Mountain West Network? No. But it's still better than what we saw on ESPN Plus a couple weeks back. It's free.
Oh my God.
You can get it on any device. Glass half full versus glass half empty. It's just one of those situations. But yeah, the late starts are rough. They're even rougher when you suffer a really deflating loss. I can't really argue with you there. It's only one, though. It's one loss, guys. Like, I do want to drill that as much as this one sucks. If Norvell can't win this cycle of kids recruits, blow it up again, hire a defensive assistant from P5 as head coach, defense wins championships, sign Sonny Lubick. That's from Joey B. Norvell's not going anywhere after this season, guys. I hope that
nor should he, man.
That are no, and they shouldn't. Frankly, you need continuity if you're ever going to turn this thing around. You can't just keep going through staffs every couple of years. I believe in Jay Norvell as a coach. He won at Nevada, guys. At Nevada, who has no resources whatsoever. He is recruiting well. You're seeing some of these young guys. TJ Crandall, true freshman, comes on and makes a big-time play. You hear great things about him. Jalen Gardner, true freshman, as safety. He's the guy that's making plays. These young receivers, Justice Ross Simmons, Lewis Brown, these are all guys you recruited, brought in, you're developing them. It takes time, though. It takes time. You don't have a 5-star running back coming in to flip things overnight. You did add some key transfers. Dallin Holker, been an absolute stud, but you don't have SEC money, so you're not going to get the SEC quick fix. And frankly, more teams around the country have to wrap their mind around the fact that the best programs are still homegrown, they're developed, and that takes time. We used to give coaches 3-4 years of recruiting cycles before we even thought we could have an accurate gauge of what they're doing. I understand everything's changed. There's so much player movement. You don't have time to give coaches 4 years and just, nothing. But we have seen improvement from last year. And as bad as this was tonight, as a whole this season, we have seen improvement. I understand it's hard to focus on the positives, though, in this instance. I'm not trying to tell you everything's perfect. I want to keep things in perspective. Great comment here from Mile High Minute. Tough loss, complete meltdown. It's a process. CSU needs to unlearn their bad habits. I believe they will be a good team over the next couple of years. I do too, man. I believe they should be a pretty good team by the end of this year. I mean, obviously, you said a couple weeks ago, do they have championship aspirations? We need to see more completeness. Have not seen the completeness. Aaron,
yeah, I have to say, like, I am a complete believer in Jay Norvell. I really do believe in what he's
a great
bringing.
Football coach. He's a great recruiter.
I like his demeanor. I like his philosophy. I like the fact, as you mentioned, that he was able to be very successful at Nevada. I like that he was able to convince a lot of his recruits to come with him. I think that players really like Jay Norvell. I think that they like.
That's completely evident.
Yeah, I mean, it is, exact. We are talking in the wake of just the most deflating, devastating loss I think any of us have seen in some time because of the expectation and how we all thought that maybe the future was now. But it seems like maybe, okay, we have to pump the brakes on that a little bit. This is obviously market improvement from last year. Last year was just an absolute, just complete devastation. Last year was, you can't even really try to pull anything from last year. But I am very deflated, but I do have eyes, and I understand what it is that I'm being shown. I do understand that we're looking at a freshman quarterback that has shown unbelievable poise, unbelievable accuracy, unbelievable talent, and then just almost none of that was there tonight. And I don't know what the deal is. Maybe he had a bad day. Maybe he got broken up with earlier.
I mean,
maybe
you're a big basketball guy. Sometimes the jump shots just don't fall.
Yes.
And you keep shooting, and then your shot just gets worse and worse because then you start fixating on I left that one short, and then you start missing long, and then you start missing to the side, and you just didn't have it tonight. He's a young kid and he didn't have it.
Yeah, and not in a I want to put this all on put it all on him way, or I want to bring out the pitchforks or something. But I mean, I really think that his performance was at the center of what happened to CSU tonight. I mean, it's a cascading effect of 3 and outs that turn into the defense being on the field too long.
No, you're spot on.
starting to get
This is what
gashed.
happened all last year. Like the air raid, when it is rolling, it's a lot of fun. But when you aren't executing, when you're consistently in second and third and long, and you're going 3 and out, and you're only on the field for a minute at a time, not only is it tough to win that way for you offensively, but you're just putting your defense in a brutal spot. And they looked gassed. They looked gassed in that second quarter. They looked gassed as the game went on, and they spent a lot of time on the field. At some point, you would like to see them, kind of dig deep and find a way to make a play. And they did have some moments. Marshawn Oxley smoked a quarterback. You get the strip in the second half.
Yep.
A couple of interceptions, but Chase Wilson had the strip as well. It was a bummer. There's really no other way to put it. It doesn't mean that this team doesn't have talent. It doesn't mean that if they came out and scored 40 points next week, I would be shocked, because we've seen that they can do it, and they did it against Pac-12 teams. They've done it on the road, but on a night where they got up big, they probably started feeling themselves a little bit too early. I think it's clear this team still has some losing tendencies that have stemmed multiple staffs, just kind of a culture that you're trying to shift. But that's a process. It's not a situation where we're a losing team and now we're a winning team. It was 1 week we were a losing team, the next week we're a winning team. It's give and flow. It's like going to the gym, you make progress, you take a couple steps forward, and then sometimes you take a step or two back. And it doesn't mean you aren't making progress. It just means we aren't where we want to be yet. And I do think that so long as, these guys are healthy and, don't miss any significant time, knock on wood, pray to God, pray to Allah, pray to Tom Cruise, Jesus, whoever you're into, that Tori and Mo are okay. But yeah, this was
Please,
ugly.
Tom Cruise.
I'm very disappointed.
Please, Tom Cruise. Let Tori be okay. We need Tori Horton. We need Tori Horton. If you want to understand how good Tori Horton is, first half, second half. Not having Tori Horton out there in the second half was you just.
You basically have to have 2 defenders account for him on every play, or the majority of plays. And if it's one-on-one, you are taking a major risk that he's going to burn you. Now, credit to Utah State. There were some one-on-one instances where they stepped up and made some plays. And we basically said coming in, this felt like a pretty evenly matched type game. Which side's able to step up? Utah State stepped up. CSU fell flat on their face. It's ugly. It needs to be better. You've got 7 weeks to figure it out. I don't really know what else there is to say outside of that. You're really just beating a dead horse at that point. But what is going on? The Buffs are just invading. They're coming in my mind. I think that happened. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing things now.
Man, we're down so bad. We're down so bad. I don't know what happened to us. We used to be so beautiful. Yet 1 week ago, actually 4 hours ago, I was at my peak. I've never been. I was walking around with
peak
confidence. Eric. Oh my God, dude! I was the best I've ever been. I've never been better. As a guy, and that includes the Nuggets winning the championship. Somehow. The idea that CSU could be back into a place where I could have legitimate true confidence in them and look forward to them playing football every week and want to get into conversations around the office about positives and things that I could be kind of puffing my chest out about. I was what is this? What beautiful life did I wake up into? And then I really, truly woke up, and then here I am. I'm back here in the mud with you, Justin, in the garbage. We're garbage people. We're going to eat more garbage.
You were Ricky Bobby after he won. You didn't know what to do with your hands. We'll see.
I didn't know what to do with my hands, man.
And by the end of it, you're running in your underwear saying you're on fire. And
yeah. Well, I know what to do with my hands now. Is I choke myself out. That's.
I agree with Taylor. Great comment. BFN will improve. Dude is 19 years old. Defense is shockingly bad. Yeah, they have not lived up to expectations. Defense will be better. They were putting it up in quarter one. I also think there's some truth to that as well. They do flash in spurts. That's the thing I keep saying. It's the consistency that this team has been lacking on both sides of the football, and that's what they've got to figure out if they truly want to be a winning team, if they want to be taken seriously in some of these upcoming games. They've got some really tough ones coming up. Boise State, UNLV, Boise State, I think, completed the comeback against San Jose State tonight. I'll have to verify that. Don't take me at my word. But yeah, this was ugly. This was rough. I hope you guys feel a little bit better after this podcast. Maybe you feel worse. I don't know. I feel a little bit better.
I feel better too. You know what? Like I have to be honest. Like I got DoorDash. I ordered ribs. And they showed up like moments before we went live. So I just have them like warming in the background. And so I've been like, I was going to use them as like an emotional crutch. I was going to eat my feelings via baby back ribs. But now, because we've talked it out, I got to use the word disappointing 500 times, disgusting, catastrophic. I got all of those words out of my system onto the internet where they belong. And now I think I'll just eat. You know, I don't know that I'm going to be emotionally eating now. I think I'll just eat for sustenance.
That's all you can hope for, right?
That's all we can hope for, baby.
Well, Eric, I appreciate you hopping on this pod. Much love to my brother, Brandon, in the comments section there. Shout out to everybody. I appreciate the kind words regarding my dad. He's doing okay. Scary moment a couple of days ago, but it's looking like he's going to be fine. We'll see. I mean, not really out of it necessarily, but I do appreciate all of the love that you guys send my way, the support that you guys have for the show. It means a lot to me. All you guys are rocking with us on this late night on such a miserable outing. You could be doing anything.
Oh, we were out of the mud.
You're playing video games, but instead you're listening to me.
Let's go.
Which is, it means the world to me. It really does. I love this community. It's a long season. This team does have talent. Tonight was a big old piece of humble pie, but we got 7 more weeks. Much love, y'all. Still proud to be. Peace.
Let's go.
We all silly like the mayor.